Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Let's Talk Headlines series. I'm your host Jay, and this is The Objective. Thanks for tuning in to another episode. This is actually season 2, episode 8 of the Let's Talk Headlines series. If you haven't already, follow me on Instagram at The Objective Podcast. If you haven't already, follow me on YouTube. Really would appreciate that if you guys appreciate my content, if you like what I'm doing, if you see what I'm trying to do here, I'd appreciate a like and a subscribe and comments. I like to dialogue with you guys. Also, check out my content as well as a bunch of great content creators at www.politicalstorm.com. Support independent media. Check out some of the articles. I'm sure there's going to be something there you like. Share it with your friends and your family. We do really, truly appreciate that. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about the Ivy League school scandal that has just recently broke. About 40 parents so far and counting have been charged in this scandal. We're going to talk about what this scandal entailed. No, these are not just regular middle-class parents that are involved in this scandal. These are the elites of society, actresses, CEOs, just really highly influential people who have been caught in a ethical, and not only ethical, but a criminal conundrum. So we're going to talk about that. But not only are we going to talk about the facts of the case, we're also going to talk about it in a more philosophical sort of way. And the reason why I want to do that is because, you know what, it's important to keep informed about these news events. It's important to know what's going on, but it's equally as important to reflect, you know, and ask yourself, wait, what is this story? What does this news story tell me about society? What does this news story tell me about the condition that we're in as a society, as a people? I think that's very important to do. And as we go on, even past this show, I hope that we can start looking at the news that way, start looking at current events that way, and see how it reflects or how it affects us. So, as you all know, several highly influential parents have been charged. Like I said, we're going, I think, past 40 here soon. Several have been charged, arrested. Some are still waiting to give themselves in or surrender themselves to police. Just a debacle, folks. And basically what happened is that we're seeing that these parents, these really influential parents and people and business people and actors and actresses and elites of society, what they did was they would bribe school officials with money. They would pay them with copious amounts of money. We're talking $200,000 to up to $6.5 million in order to get their kids into these high, prestigious, high-class schools, such as Stanford, Yale, Harvard. These parents would pay a bunch of money, and bribes would be made, and they would have, when you take a test, like you have a proctor in the room that's supposed to be there to make sure there's no cheating and confirm that you are the person taking the test. They would bribe these proctors so the tests would actually be corrected, or the scores would be boosted fraudulently. They would take pictures of their students saying that they're athletes. They never played a sport in their life. And they would get in to the school based on their athletic prowess that they don't have. Now, all of this was done under the radar. All of this was done, very fraudulently and criminally, as we can see here. And when you think about it, okay. Yes, these parents are ethically screwed. Pardon my language. These parents are not only ethically screwed, but they're criminally screwed. Obviously, charges have been laid. The argument that can be made for the parents, a weak argument at that, is we were trying to do the best for our kids. It's a BS excuse or reason, and it doesn't stand up in court. I guarantee it won't stand up in court. But on the flip side, you have to look at people who were qualified, people who were not as wealthy, who could not buy themselves in, who do not have $200,000 or $6.5 million to pay their way into a prestigious university. Not only those who did not have, but those who would not even do that if they did have, for the mere reason that it is unethical, it is criminal, it is unfair, it is deceitful. There's so many people, so many young people who are deserving, who are the leaders of tomorrow, who want to do things the right way, go through the proper channels to get into the school. You're going to see here, we're going to be touching on a few things that parallel this story in different realms. Think immigration. We'll go back there. People who are, they go through their high school, they go through and they get their grades, valedictorians. We're talking a very low percentage of people make it into these schools. These are the prestigious schools in the United States, in the West. Now, put those people aside that are doing things the right way to get into the school of their dreams to secure their future. And you have these people, these elites of society who have influence, who have money. And I mean, the good book says that money is the root of all evil. The people have the money and they elbow their way into the front of the line. And we're talking about the leaders of tomorrow, folks. We're talking about the people who are going to be graduating with these designations, coming from an Ivy League school, who will get into successful careers based on merely that. To get into an Ivy League school, there is a standard, or there used to be a standard. Now the standard turns out to be a paper bill that's green. All through the presidential election the last one in 2016, you would hear, college educated people do not vote for the president. That doesn't mean anything now. I mean, if you can pay your way in, if it doesn't actually require that you have a level of intelligence, you have a level of knowledge, you have a standardized or a high IQ level. If none of that stuff matters, you are devaluing the education system in America. You're devaluing these Ivy League schools, these prestigious schools, and you've turned them into a political and a business affair. No longer is it based on merit and someone who deserves to be there, who have worked hard. It's all based on money. It's all based on how much influence and how much clout you have. And that's so dangerous. If you're not, it's all based on, I don't care if it's race or affirmative action. And I can appreciate the fact that you want to get more folk into these schools who do not have the means, who would not necessarily have the means to get into these schools, to give them an opportunity to shine and to rise above the status quo. That's awesome. I can appreciate that. But what I appreciate even more is allowing people who deserve, who can meet the standard, who can excel. Those are the leaders of tomorrow. And if you're just going to put a bunch of kids in there, not because of what they can do, not because of their athletic ability, not because of their mental prowess, their dexterity of mind or nimbleness of character, not because of any of that stuff, but only because your parents are rich enough to put you in that school, it is a travesty. And this is a huge win for law enforcement. And it was great. I think it was called Operation Varsity Blues. Just awesome. And, it just shows us the state that we're in. The rule of law is disregarded by certain people who have a purse that is a certain size. If you know what I'm trying to say here. Look at immigration, for example, and we're going to touch on that again. You have these people who are going in line, who are trying to come to the country the right way, filling out the hundreds of pages of forms, waiting because this line is so long, waiting years to get into the country. And some of them get denied. And then you have other people who are crossing the border illegally. And then they get to benefit from the wealth of America while people trying to do it the right way back of the line. This is the kind of culture and the sort of patterns that we're seeing here. Now, when you look at, for example, look at Hillary Clinton. Okay. Like I said, I was reading the book, The Russia Hoax. And in the book, what Greg Jarrett does, he actually lists the criminal charges. He lists the wording, the sections from the criminal code that Hillary Clinton has broken. And when I say she has broken these laws, I don't mean that I'm insinuating or suggesting or assuming. These are things in the public record, and I want to get into that when I do the book review. I'll get into that a lot more in detail. But these are things where the criminal intent doesn't have to be proved. All it needs to be proved is that you did X, Y, and Z. Intent is not one of the elements of the offense. I don't want to get too technical right now, but when you have a justice system that completely circumvents the law for political reasons, you are what may seem like a simple decision and a simple choice in not charging Hillary Clinton. What Comey has done, and the elites in the FBI and law enforcement, what they have done is put a hole in the justice department, in the justice system in America. Now, that was a mouthful, and I don't know if that made any sense. But what I'm saying is that when you make exceptions for justice, that's what we call social justice. When you make exceptions for justice and who will be punished based on how much money you have, the color of your skin, that is not justice. That is injustice. And you are continually perpetuating a sense and a level of injustice every time you allow stuff like this to happen at the universities, allow a criminal to be let go just because of their reach and their influence, and the fact that she could have been the first female president. You are degrading the judicial system. And there's an illustration I just want to leave with you before I end the show. I went outside, and gutters just on the roof of the house, it was leaking water, and obviously it was cold, and below freezing some nights. So this water would drip when it started to warm up a little bit. Drip, drip, drip. And the water would be hitting the cement. And what would happen is that this consistent dripping, just these small drips, the consistent dripping of the water, something that on any day of the week would not have a chance against cement. If you flick some water at cement, it would just bounce off, nothing. The cement would not be affected. But the consistent dripping started to cause a little dip in the cement. Think of that for a second. Democracies don't end abruptly. Democracies tend to end drip by drip, decision by decision, selfish decision by selfish decision. That's how democracies end. And it starts to snowball, and then the justice system has no credibility. Institutions are destroyed because they have no credibility. I hope you get what I'm trying to say here. And this is why I say kudos to law enforcement for this awesome operation, not taking into account who these rich people are or how much influence they have, but just listening to the rule of law and acting accordingly. Before I end, one last thing, folks. The Mueller report, it was voted that it should be public. It will be released to the public, which I think is good. But my prediction is obviously there are going to be no charges against President Trump, like I've been saying for a very long time. There's been no collusion, no proof collusion, nothing like that. Ever since this thing started, it's been a witch hunt, and I stand by that just based on the facts that I have, and it's completely political, and it's a travesty of justice, but no collusion. But I suspect that the report will have crumbs that the media and the left wing will be able to hold on to grasp onto, to continue holding this looming shadow over the Trump presidency. So there'll be a lot of suggestions or suggestive material, and the media will just insinuate like they always do, sensationalize. So that's my prediction. I stand by it. Ever since I think it was December 2016, I wrote my article. I think it was entitled "The Truth Lies in the Dossier." You can find it on politicalstorm.com. But I've been a skeptic the whole time, and it looks like I'm on my way to being completely correct on the conclusion of the Mueller probe. So with that, folks, thank you for tuning in. I hope today you got something that made you think. Thank you for your time, and I'll see you in the next one. Make it your goal to be objective.